Hi folks, and happy Lunar New Year. We are filming now in an area of Hong Kong that's famous for buying flowers at New Year. And I've got finally to test out the 24-120 f4S lens for Nikon Z. I know so many people who have this and I've only heard positive raving reviews of it. And I'm curious because this part of the Nikon lineup is so well built out. You've got 24-70 in f4 and f2.8. You've got a 28-75 in f2.8. You've got this 24-120, and you've got a 24-200 variable aperture. So in this one's favor, it feels quite well built for the price. It's less than half the price of the 24-70 f2.8. It is still an S lens. It's actually the same price now, about $1,100 US, as the 10-year-old f-mount one is still selling for new. So a lot of good things on paper. It doesn't have VR in the lens. You're relying only on the body, whereas the 24-200 has that. As I think people are getting this as I can walk around all day and do all of my general shooting needs with it. That's basically what we're going to do. I've got a little bit of candid photography here at the market planned. We're going to do indoor portraits, going to do some hiking, and also a kind of a fitness shoot out in nature. So, and I'll probably shoot my cat. So across that, you might basically say we're covering the normal things that you might want from a lens if you're not looking for super wide for astro or landscape, or super long for birds and that kind of thing. So let's test it out, and where appropriate, I'll bring in those other lenses to give a point of reference. But our focus today is going to be on the 24-120. Wish me luck. What's the one thing that people don't love about flowers? This shop has named itself Hay Fever. hayfever.com.hk. Amazing. Man, I am so over wearing masks on the street. Apart from being annoying and I think ineffective at this point, it makes street photography really boring because you don't get any face expressions from the people you're shooting. First impressions on the Z9, it's lightning quick. The f4 isn't slowing you down at all. It feels nice in the hand. Haven't reviewed the images yet, but it's performing as fast and as good as, say, the 24-70 2.8. No complaints. Okay, it is 4 p.m. now and the market is heaving. Let's move on to our second shoot, doing an in-studio portrait shoot or in gym type studio portrait shoot for Honey for a project she's got coming up. So we'll be doing some off-camera flash. Hi folks, just jumping in here. I wanted to let you know that I'm finally getting back on the road running my workshops and tours. For those of you in North America, Steph and I will be bringing Take Control of the Light to New York City on the 1st and 2nd of April. And then I'll be doing an art nude workshop in LA with Honey on Saturday the 8th. If you have any questions, let me know. You can see details on those below. And for those of you in the rest of the world, make sure you check out the workshops page over at mattgranger.com because I'll be updating all of the details there. And you can sign up to my mailing list at the website to find out all of the future events as well. Okay, so thank you for having us, Honey. We have come to do a series of different gym shots here. Now, this is your typical kind of gym. They don't all actually have natural floor-to-ceiling lights, windows like a yoga studio that you see online. So this has, to be honest, a bit of a challenge because we were thinking to do some headshots here, and we'll still do them with Honey kind of in the foreground, the gym equipment, the classic, I'm the trainer, this is my gym type headshot. Now overhead, I don't know if we're getting that in the shot, every second light is a different color. We've got one wall that's reflective. It's fine. This is a gym studio, not a photography studio, so it's no problem.
I designed this light.
For ambience, I think it's nicer to have a mix. But when, like to our eye, we don't notice it until you look at it with a photographer's eye. If you look in that corner there, you can see the light is warm.
Yes.
If you look in this corner, you can see it's cool because they're right in the corner. So that will show up in the photos. So I was just showing Honey, if we go through and, well, let's just do a quick demo. If I get you to stand here, this will be our frame. Okay, so I've already white balanced for the room. So here, simple frame, this shoulder towards me is good. And I'll get you to just hold this for all of them. So we're just getting the equipment in the background. Here at f4, we still get a fair bit of blur, getting the actual lights out of the ceiling. And here I've white balanced for the room in a variety of different areas. So then if I'm not being able to get it right, I've got some closer to the white, closer to the yellow, in between, away from them, so I can pick a white balance point to meter later. But you can see there, it's a little bit drab, but at least the colors aren't all over the shop. If I try to pop some flash in here and then white balance for the flash, so then we bring her up with a nice big pool of light. Change my white balance now to flash. Then here, and I didn't do this full demo for you, so I'll show you this one. So you can see one, you are more evenly lit, but then you're a lot brighter than the background. And then you see we start to get all of these reflections coming in because we have one direct light. So none of the equipment's kind of right in the light. All the lights being overhead, the shadows are being cast down, so you don't see them on the wall. And this way you see them more clearly. So the main issue really is though that the background looks really dark now, right? So if we throw a second flash in the background, it will bring up more brightness, but I think it's just gonna bring in lots more shadows, which means no flash might be the best for today. And we can either do it again with more equipment or that's it. And again, now with flash white balance, flash in the background. And you see that second one is firing behind us. Nice, nice. So we'll need to brighten it up a little, but you can see we are bringing in some shadows into the background. Yes. So I think overall, probably just going with these ones may be the better option. And then if we want to come back and light it more brightly in the background, we can do that another time. So we'll start off with that one. This is still a good challenge, and I will actually bring the 2.8 in here to show you, is f4 going to give us enough background blur on these shots? So enough talk, let's actually shoot it.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm right at 50 mil there. So I'm gonna throw my prime on and just show you what we can do to the background if you do have faster than f4. So here with the 50 prime, starting out, we can see the shot here at f4. And note, it's so dark in here, even at 1/125th of a second, I'm at like ISO 4000. Here's what we can get if we're able to drop back to f2.8. So that much softer of a background and that much lower of an ISO. Jumping back to f2. 1.4 and 1.2. Now at 1.2, the lights overhead, I can actually bring them back because they just become nice and diffuse. But I actually think probably around f2 is a nice place to be. Get my ISO down under 1000 and still have plenty of the gym equipment in the background to tell the story. So that is one downside if you have environments where you need to blur out the background, or you're gonna need the extra ISO to get your exposure up. That's a trade-off if you're shooting with an f4 constant. So recording the screen here so that you guys can see it. That's in at 120. And pulling back to 24. It's never losing the eye and even going to face. It's just keeping with, oh, there's face. You can see even through this stuff, I mean, this is doing as well with autofocus as I would expect with a 2.8 prime or one of their top, sorry, a 2.8 zoom or one of their top primes. Yeah, this will do the job. I think you've done about 40 reps there. Thanks, take a rest. So we're getting a last shot here of Honey doing a push-up and pretending like it isn't painful. So I'm on the floor laying, shooting along the ground at her, having this focal length is good. 120 lets me clean up the frame, but it's pretty flat and boring just using the top-down lighting. So I'm using an on-camera flash for a little bit of fill, but mostly to trigger an off-camera flash because I didn't bring triggers, which is going to kind of side light her from a 3/4 angle, so we'll get light streaming along the side of her body and under her. So let's see how it comes together. So I should have actually checked this with you. I put in the flash thinking this would be cooler than what we had discussed. Made you do 50 push-ups, but didn't actually check. So here we're getting the edge lighting. So the first ones we were doing were getting more across your torso and just a real edge light on your arms. But then that second one where I moved the flash.
I liked my shoulder. The second one.
These ones?
Yes, yes, yes.
That's what the first 40 push-ups were for, just to get the pump. So on the 41st shot, we got it.
Smart.
Nice. So yes, or there were times there for sure where I wanted a faster aperture. It's really dark in here. But generally, the focal length is working out nicely. So I've still got a few more tests, including one with Honey that's going to be doing fitness on the island. But next, let's head out and do some hiking around Thousand Islands in Hong Kong. It was my first time heading out to Thousand Islands. It's a fairly easy hike. We went just around sunrise with a couple of friends, and once you get to the top, it's a really spectacular view. Now on this day, I brought the 14 to 30 as an alternative because it's a really expansive viewpoint. If you take a look here, the 24 to 120 is doing well, and the ability to zoom in and get some kind of detail shots along the mountain is quite nice. But having the ability to go out to 18, 16, 14 mil with the wider lens, you can get a lot more of the islands, which kind of makes the image work. You'll note on some of these zoomed in images, you're getting a lot of atmospheric haze, which isn't a fault in the lens, it's just due to the compression you get when you're using a telephoto. If you get to Hong Kong, definitely check this place out, and it's a drone flyer's paradise. There's some really beautiful aerial shots here. Next up, I wanted to compare the 24 to 120 to the 24 to 200. So I headed out to one of my favorite places in Hong Kong, Cheung Chau Island, and did some hiking with Honey and got a variety of different portraits, including some video samples that you will show you here, and tried to compare them at, reasonably similar settings so that you can see the kind of image quality difference between these two lenses. Now, certainly there are times where having the extra reach from 120 to 200 is a big plus. And, if you're willing to lose that extra 1.3 stop of aperture, then that's really a suitable option for you. But as I'm going to get to in the conclusion, there's more differences than just that, and there's an obvious image quality separation between these two lenses. Okay, before we round this out, if you're in the Nikon Z system, please check out my Nikon Z setup guide. It runs through every different camera in the system, showing you how to get the most out of them, how to initially set them up, all of the settings that I would recommend changing from the outset, and then goes through the entire menu system to explain what each different option does and how you can use it to get the best results. I also show you how to customize each in particular camera for different styles of shooting so that you can kind of fine tune them for exactly the kind of shooting you do for best results. Details for that are in the description below. So, I have here now all the different lenses lined up. This is the lens of the hour, the 24-120. As I said earlier in the video, there's so much variety at this point in the market. You've got the 14-30, the 24-70-2.8, the 24-70 f4. This is actually kind of an outlier. It's the 50mm. I just have that there for a point I want to make later. Then you've got the 24-200 and the 24-120. Now, through this, I did compare to the 24-200 and the 14-30. But I didn't actually go in and compare it against all of the different lenses because as I tested it out more and more, I felt the conclusion I have isn't really groundbreaking at all, but that they're quite clearly segmented and it's really not that difficult of a decision. It's just going to come down to how much do you value the versatility of having a wider zoom range, and how important to you is your aperture being constant versus variable, being 2.8 versus being f4. And the crucial thing that I think a lot of reviews that just say the 24-120 is the best lens ever, go buy it, there is still an image quality difference between the different lenses that is also going to factor in there. Having said that, if you're, and whatever your level, if you're a beginner, advanced, or professional, and you think the 24-120 range will work well for you, and you're pretty sure f4 is going to be fine, and the price is good for your budget, I would say without hesitation, it's an excellent lens. It's really versatile. It's really nicely positioned. I think the build, the image quality, everything about it is right where it should be and between very good and excellent for the price. I think it's an excellent lens. If you want more range and you're happy to sacrifice on the aperture, then the 24-200 is also a great lens. The build quality is a bit behind, the focus is a bit behind, the image quality is behind, but you get the extra flexibility in an even lighter and smaller package. One thing I have to get out there though, whether you're shooting it on a flagship or a lower body, or you're comparing it or just looking at it in isolation, optically it's very, very good. It's not excellent though. Now I know 24-120 shooters love this lens and I'm probably gonna get angry comments, but please, if you haven't shot it side by side with the 24-70 2.8 or with the 51-2, then just be happy that I agree it's very, very good. But it's still, we could say the 14-30 and the 24-70 f4 are both good lenses, absolutely nothing special. Get the job done, perform, but no unique character, nothing that's really mind-blowing. But good, no problems. The 24-200, as I said, is an obvious step behind. The 24-120, I would say, is above these. I would say for versatility, price, value, it's better than them. It's great. But if you're just going to talk about image quality, there's a clear delineation between this lens and this lens, and probably just as big of a step between that lens and then these kind of lenses, especially the 24-70 and the 50, but you could also put into there most of the fast primes and all of the 2.8 zoom, so the 70-200 as well, and the 14-30 to a lesser extent, but still. And how could it not be? You can't really expect that it's going to be optically just as good, and you're just sacrificing one stop of aperture and then saving more than half the money and getting more versatility. I mean, no one was really expecting that result, were they? So it's just going to come down to you. Are you willing to pay more, carry a heavier lens, have less of a range, but have the best possible image quality? Do you need excellent, outstanding, oh my God image quality, or goddamn, that's really nice, great image quality is fine? If so, this is just a great flexible option. No bombshell of a finding here, but I do want to make it clear that whilst it's optically very, very good, it's not top tier in terms of its overall performance, in my opinion. You can check out those sample files, check out my setup guide below if you have any questions. As always, please feel free to leave me a comment below. And I feel like I haven't said this in about 5 years, but if you aren't already, please do like and subscribe. It really does make a difference to the channel and letting us grow. So do that below. Thanks again. We'll see you soon.